What's going on everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're working on the Suzuki Swift, the 1.5 GLX. I'm going to show you how to replace a lower control arm. So the first thing you want to do, get the car jacked up, get the wheel taken off, make sure it's secure on some axle stands, and then we're going to start looking at what bolts hold the lower control arm on. There's only 3 bolts, there's obviously one lower ball joint just on this strut here, and so that's what we're going to look at next, what bolts we need to remove. There's just one on the subframe there, just in the centre of the screen if you can see that. There's another one in the back there where it meets the subframe, and then the other one is just under here. It's hard to see, but there's one just there, just behind the brake disc. Now each one of these is a 17mm. So you can see that here, I've got the 17mm spanner, goes straight on that one there. I've also got the one just under here as well, if you can see that. That's where that particular bolt is that goes through the ball joint. So we'll get the 2 on the subframe off first, or loosened at least, and then we'll have a look at this one next. And then this is the one just behind the where the wheel would mount, the hub, brake disc, etc. Now this is a nut and bolt, so I've put a spanner on the other side now that it's loose. There we go. Whoa. So now that that bolt's out, that sort of threads through the lower ball joints sort of shaft or shank, if you like, on the lower arm. So we need to pull now this lower arm off, just here, this one. Pull this lower arm off from the strut. So the strut should go up, the lower arm should go down, and then we'll be able to pull it out of the front bush and the rear bush on the subframe, so it should go down and then out. Fingers crossed that's easy enough. That's got it. See, that bush is very badly split. There's also a lot of play in this particular ball joint. Now here's the new and old side by side. I did get an original OEM from Suzuki lower arm this time around because I am sick of the ball joints going. That's the spurious one on this side. The bush is just starting to split there, but we'll see how it fares. This one should hopefully be good for another 100,000 miles. So we're going to throw the new one in the same way this one came off. So it went in there first, and it swung round effectively, slid into that opening there for the front bush, the leading bush, and then finally we'll get the ball joint offered up to the knuckle for the strut. So yeah, that's the plan of action. As soon as I put the camera away, I literally, got 2 hands on it, and it went straight up basically to where I wanted it to go. So that was good. So I'm going to now put the back bolt in loosely, just so I start a few threads, then get this one in loosely, and then focus on getting that ball joint there. And if you can see, this is very important, there's a dip in the shank of the ball joint, and that's when you put the bolt in, in the hole just there, just above it, and you put the bolt through. The bolt sits in that sort of chamfer. Let me just get the bolt, give you a little bit of a demo on the old one. So as it sits there, the bolt, the shank of the bolt will sit in that groove so it cannot become dislodged. And that's what holds, as well as the pressure that the bolt gives the grip, if you like, as well as the pressure that the bolt gives to grip the shank of the ball joint itself. The shank of the bolt also sits in that chamfered area of the ball joint, so that's very important. That stops your ball joint, obviously, if it's got some play in it, if that fails or if the bolt comes loose, etc., that's when the wheel will lift up and move backwards, because it's not got the lower suspension arm keeping it in line and keeping the geometry as it should be. So the wheel will go up by itself on its own accord, or move backwards if it's a McPherson strut style like this one, and it'll smash all the winging, all the inner arch, and that, if it happens at speed, could be catastrophic. So make sure your ball joints are good, make sure they don't have play, make sure the bolt is sat correctly on the ball joint if it's this style. Some have a castellated nut and then a pin that goes through, and that should be obviously tight, and the pin stops the bolt or the nut from coming loose. So I went in for my tea and the light disappeared. But we've got the bolt in the back there, the bolt just there in that one, as you can see there, and then the bolt through just there. I'm going to tighten that up now. But yeah, I had to get the back one in first, that one back there, I had to get that one in first with this one loose and this one completely out, and the lower arm had to be right high because the tension on that rear bush was just far too much to do it any other way. That's what was needed because of the tension on that bush causing the bolt to not line up with the threads. So yeah, I think I better wrap this up here. So that's it for this particular video. I've run out of daylight, I've got no torches that work, I'm using my phone light. And yeah, the daylight just disappeared within 20 minutes. It is, you know, the beginning of January, but that's how to fit a lower control arm on a Suzuki Swift. It'd be very, very similar on any McPherson strut suspension style, even a double wishbone style. You know, the lower control arm normally only has 3 mounting points, and it works in conjunction with the other suspension components to stay in the correct alignment. So if you found this video useful, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
It haunts me how the absence of you makes the nightmare